Good morning, everyone. I think in the interest of allowing all that are still trying to log in, we'll hold on for another 2 minutes and then we will start. Thank you. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to what is the next Let's Talk series. My name is Vishal Premlaw. I'm the National Director for TEPA. Together with us today, presenting on a topic, Let's Talk Tyre product recalls. We have Nishlin Pata, and Nishlin Pata is from the NRCS. He's going to talk us through some of the challenges, some of the realities around product recalls. It is obviously a topic that's very contentious, but a topic that industry needs to be aware of, because very often when these product recalls happen, there is an expectation in terms of industry, from a resolution point of view, to support the resolution going forward. So I think it's important that, all members understand this. What we will do as an exercise is from this session, we will have specific takeouts that we will record, and those takeouts will be shared with the broader industry so that they have a better understanding of product recalls. This is, again, part of an education series for our members to understand what they can and can't do within the prescripts of, the respective policies, etc., etc., etc. And Nishlin Pata will take us through that. So just for purposes of introduction, Nishlin Pata is currently the acting technical specialist, automotive regulatory division within the NRCS, and he's going to be talking us through specifically in this instance product recalls relating to the tire industry. So without wasting too much more time, I will hand over to Nishlin Pata. Just maybe before I get there, just from a good governance perspective, allow Nishlin to run through his presentation. At the end of the presentation, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. In the interim, however, if you feel that you need to, address a biting issue and you can't, do it later, then drop it into the chat box. We will address all concerns in the chat box in some of the other format, either during the meeting. If it is not during the meeting, then we will definitely respond to you in an email format with, responses to all of those questions. That's just to keep a good, process flow in terms of the meeting. And beyond that, you'll see contact details will be shared in the chat, etc., etc. You're welcome to engage, independently as well. So without wasting too much more time, I respect the fact that all of you have given up your business time to be here. I'm handing straight over to Nishlin Pata to firstly introduce himself and then to talk you through the presentation. Over to you, Nishlin.
Thank you, Mr. Premlal, for that warm welcome regarding the tire recalls. Let me just reintroduce myself. I'm Nishlin Pata from the National Regulator for Compulsory Specifications. I am currently heading the role of acting technical specialist within the Automotive Regulatory Division. And I would like to maybe share with the colleagues of product recalls. I mean more specifically the tire recalls that you've been mentioning with regards to product recalls. So without further ado, I would like to maybe share my screen, Mr. Premla, regarding my MS Teams. I will just share my screen now, if you don't mind. I was wondering if you can see my screen. Maybe you can indicate with a thumbs up or maybe a
Oh,
hand that you can see my screen.
yeah, we can see it. Maybe put it into
Thank you.
presentation mode.
Thank you, will do. Okay. Again, let me just start off in saying I'm Nishlin Patha, and then obviously this is my contact details, which will be shared with the colleagues. I think I've already done so. Yeah, and so this is just a presentation to actually look into the tire recalls or the product recalls that we've been introduced by Mr. Premlal. Okay, just for the basis of understanding of our the contents of my presentation, I would like to say, just give you a brief role of the NRCS and obviously share with you the product recalls that we had with the industry, the executive summary for the recalls received per vehicle manufacturer or the OEMs, as per the notification that we were actually notified by the NCC, identified defect classification in terms of the technical regulations that are related to the products that were recalled. Key regulatory concerns I'd like to speak about: the clarification of recall notifications, obviously expectations from industry, and we like to have also a proactive safety culture in terms of sharing this information with industry and key role players. And obviously, NRCS is more than welcome to actually answer or maybe share questions or any answers. I mean, questions and answers that might have relation to what we're going to discuss or share with you today. Okay, so let me just share very briefly the role of the NRCS. Okay, we are a statutory regulatory body that actually administers compulsory specifications or technical regulations that concern public safety. We also have preservation of an environment as well as ensuring free trade within the industries that we regulate. So basically, compulsory specifications or safety regulations that we look into most for this engagement. We actually look into VC 8056, which is your passenger tires, as well as VC 8059, which is a technical regulation for commercial tires. So in terms of this we actually look into that sort of regulations in terms of ensuring that the public is safe in terms of enforcing technical regulations, well known as compulsory specifications or technical regulations. So what we also do as one of our key activities is evaluate conformity assessments prior to market entry. For example, if you look at the tires, we actually look at the technical aspects of the tire itself in terms of the term homologation, where we actually request very technical information from manufacturers and importers of tires or products that we regulate, and then we ensure that it's actually very safe for use prior to being offered for sale in the market. Also, we conduct market surveillance inspections. This includes investigative inspections. We look at approval inspections as well as port of entry inspections. So that's including your oversight, regulatory oversight regarding sanctioning that's really in relation to our market surveillance. Again, I just looked at, I just briefed you in terms of our protection of public health through safety, regulatory oversight, and our tools are basically the compulsory specifications. So, product recall engagement with industry. So, I think I've shared this in our past engagements with industry, that we look at shared transparency when we actually look into product recalls. We have technical collaboration between the key industry stakeholders, your manufacturer importers, as well as your international counterparts in terms of our technical service providers. We also look at, I mean, in terms of having a proactive approach and responsible corrective action processes. We actually welcome stakeholder communication and engagements, and also we have a shared a commitment to obviously safety, consumer safety, and cooperation as well. Um, then this is just basically an overview of our analysis internally with regards to the recalls that we've received from May 2025 to June 2026. So here, what I'm the 23 in scope recalls is basically uh, what falls within our regulatory mandate, where we actually look into what were the defects were in terms of that product. uh, Also, looking at how do we actually go and investigate and perform surveillance or intervention, regulatory intervention in terms of our mandate. So basically, 23 products in relation to a regulatory oversight was noted in terms of our analysis. I think in terms of this engagement, I mentioned that a tire manufacturer importer was actually um, notified the NCC in terms of the product recall, in terms of uh, a tire defect. So only one of the 23 was actually looked at in terms of a product recall, which we want to highlight, because sometimes you don't get a lot of components that are being notified to the NCC as well as the NRCS in respect to the technical regulations. The out of scope basically was 28%. Now, this is obviously 55% out of scope, which means that it wasn't within our mandate or regulatory oversight to take further action or maybe further analysis on what was reported. The highest contributor of our product recalls is actually VC 8022, which is your compulsory specifications, your light passenger vehicles. So obviously, we actually it's a concern in terms of of our regulatory surveillance, and then we are taking strides in terms of mitigating such compliance. What mal you know uh, the actual non-conformance of products that might be in the market already. Uh, Also, we look at the assignment and registration of recall. So basically, we assign it in terms of giving it a number. The first one obviously was VWSA. We looked at in terms of the first registration, and then obviously our last allocation was one of the OEMs, which was I think it was Jeep or Wrangler, JR Motors, where we actually looked into the defect that they reported. So basically, 10 recall notices were received in Q1 for this financial year. Is recorded under our internal registry. So this is just obviously what I've reported in the previous slide. That is just an overview of a graphical nature in terms of what we've perceived in terms of the product recalls for an actual year. So you will see that one of the OEMs, the tire recalls, is actually appearing in terms of our internal analysis, where we actually further looked into that in terms of the defect that was reported in terms of that the tire, where uh, the deformation or actually looked into the sidewalls of the actual tire where it might be defective. So we look into that in terms of our investigations regarding that tire recall. Um, the identified risks that we've actually looked at is the actual primary safety systems where seat belts and airbags are reported as defects in terms of the notices that we received. Braking systems that obviously the brake hoses and ABS issues, like for example, there's an OEM that actually reported on a handbrake system where uh, the handbrake was not actually engaging at an incline. So we actually investigating that further, as well as a tilt angle for an M category or large bus, for example, large bus for layman's terms that we're looking into in terms of our investigations regarding that, and also our recent emerging risks that might be coming through in terms of our recalls, where we noticed that some of these EVs, electric vehicles, are possibly having thermal runaway for high voltage battery overheating, as well as your ECUs, where some of the cases reported that the software might be not, malfunctioning, or the displays are not telltale displays are not actually working as they should do, they should be. So that is part of the identified defects in terms of classification, and what is VC related in terms of, or in other words, in scope of what we are doing. So the key regulatory concerns are basically the manufacturing consistency and quality of quality management. Obviously, failure to meet conformity of production or COP requirements, where conformity of production is what you introduced in the market from the time from the time you presented that product to NRCS, and what was actually further supplied to the market. So basically, you have to, in terms of conformity assessment or conformity of production requirements, you have to meet the requirements in terms of what you produce when you present it to NRCs, to actually what you are selling in the market. So obviously, post-market monitoring and complaint analysis, analytics as well, where we actually analyzing in terms of our data that's gathered, that we looking into post-market monitoring, as well as the amount of regulatory non-compliances that affect products, for example, specifically tire recalls that might be in the market where NRCS is not notified. So if ever we find that it's obviously we do sanction in terms of post market monitoring, and also we look into complaint analysis. So that's a regulatory concern in terms of the tire market, where we very seldomly, or very limited. I mean, sorry, very few recalls are being analyzed. So we need to actually see the market in terms of that aspect. Early detection of emerging defects. So also, the consideration concern is the early detection of emerging defects. So we look at possible, proactive measures to actually look at how to deal with emerging defects, or and also to create early detection systems to prevent these sort of defects by trying to mitigate this in terms of the amendments of our VCs, so we can identify these defects in terms of requiring the manufacturer or importer to divulge information other than NCC to help us to mitigate the defects or cause harm to the public. Um, Clarification of recall notice. So here is just to clarify the recall notice. At this stage, NRCS is we are governed by the NRCS Act. However, the NRCS Act is not, in terms of a legislative framework to notify. I mean, there's no, sort of uh, um, what a regulatory framework to govern communication channels to actually notify. So the only legislative framework is the Consumer Protection Act, Section 60, remains the primary framework for the governance of product recalls. So obviously, the purpose of this is just to engage you colleagues for the awareness and stakeholder engagement or in respect of future tire recalls or any recalls that might be of concern to NRCS, as well as whenever there's a public that whenever there's a consumer concern, NRCS gets involved. That's obviously based on whether it's regulated, whether the product is regulated or not. Like I explained earlier, that VC 8056 and VC 8054, VC 8059 are the technical regulations for tires in this instance. So yeah, so again, we look at focus on product safety and quality and preventative risk mitigation. So we actually one of the clarification on these recalls is focusing on the safety and quality and of obviously such seeking preventative risk mitigation in order to to look at product safety in this instance, your tire recall notices. So again, expectations of industry are obviously to strengthen and prevent the preventative quality management system. So obviously, we also are very key on cooperating during NRCS initiated investigations and audits, which we currently doing in terms of those 23 in scope recalls where we investigating root cause of the defects, as well as sanctioning, if any, where we see fit in terms of what was identified during the investigations that we are currently having. Obviously, we like to improve internal risk identification mechanisms. So, for example, you get your tire importers or manufacturers who take the initiative or actually, take sort of risk identification or to improve their quality management systems to, or their conformity of production methods to actually identify the product defects, and then obviously working together with them to actually prevent them from reaching consumer. However, we must stress that during a recall, it is actually it's actually a good regulatory measure, because it actually prevents further risks that that might be posed to consumers. So it's very important that we just keep that in mind, that obviously these sort of recalls or regulatory mechanisms are sometimes helpful in terms of identifying and obviously at the end doing some sort of preventative actions to actually safeguard consumers. So that is very important to note, that we as NRCS also look at how to mitigate these sort of risk identifications from importers and manufacturers. So, like I explained, the continuous improvement initiatives, again, conformity of production initiative by manufacturers and importers, tire manufacturers who are abiding by the continuous improvement methods within their organizations, and also it assists in terms of self-regulation as well to prevent tire product recalls or any safety critical products that we regulate. So that is important to note, that also continuous improvement initiatives are important in terms of our mandate as well to mitigate these risks. So again, proactive safety culture, we want to strive towards having proactive compliance and obviously encourage data-driven quality monitoring and strengthen collaboration between regulators and industry. So thank you for your attention. Any questions, comments, or suggestions? It's welcome. Thank you, Mr. Prima, for the opportunity to present my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Nishlan, thank you. That's obviously a very high-level overview of product recalls. Um, Please, members, do feel free to raise your hand. I know it was a very high-level summary of product recalls, but maybe to initiate the question session, I'll ask one of the questions. So, Nishlan, for our members who are tire dealers that are located, around the country, and we have a number of them that we represent. Um, from a process point of view, and I see your presentation, I see the reach out in terms of the collaboration between industry and the NRCS, and it's an important collaboration. There's a lot that needs to happen in that case. From a retailer, or should I say a dealer perspective, right? What role can they play, when you do get these notices regarding a product recall, right? Firstly, is there communication that we as the association can receive, that we can onwardly communicate to our members as part of that early detection process that you mentioned? And secondly, is there something that we can do as industry to help assist with the resolution side, the execution and resolution of whatever has been recalled? I guess the question I'm asking is, what role can we as industry play to support effective outcomes, so that it's not a security related concern, or safety related concern for vehicles remaining on the road? What can we do differently? Perhaps that's a kickoff question for you initially.
Thanks for that, Mr. Pramo. Yes. In terms of what industry or your retailers can do is obviously notify obviously the right channels. Obviously, NCC is the key regulatory. I mean, the key communication channel. At this stage, NRCS is we do not have a mandated, communication channel for product recalls. We rely solely on NCC notification. So they take it upon our themselves to notify us. Even the manufacturers or importers take it upon themselves to notify the NRCS. From your perspective, or the from a retail point level, it would be you can raise that with NRCS directly, in terms of, if you find a product that might be defective, or it doesn't have certain markings on a tire. For example, if it doesn't have E mark on a tire, you notify the NRCS on that, or you can straight away issue a note, or a sort of a communication to NCC to say, no, this product is non-compliant in terms of, for example, I mentioned that it has certain markings that do not conform to the reference standard. So basically, it's to answer your question, it would be appropriate if the retailer notifies the NRCS in terms of that concern, as well as the NCC in terms of what is actually out there in the market. So in that sense, I think it would be with regards to that communication, would be that the retailer would assist in their role to actually inform the NRCS as well as the NCC for product recalls, and obviously the NRCS for technical regulatory intervention. I hope I answered you, Mr. Premlal.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Perhaps just maybe adding to that question, where you, particularly as the NRCS, would receive specific communication relating to product recalls, specific to the automotive sector, and in this instance, specific to, say, TEPA, are you able to share that communication with us through TEPA, so that we're able to channel that into industry, so at least industry is aware that there is a product recall taking place, and this is the nature of the product recall. And perhaps, to that end, like you've been mentioning here, what can industry do? Maybe some suggestions in that regard. What can industry do once they, receive the information? What is the expectation from them? Once a product recall takes place. Because on a very serious note, I know that the filtering of information right now happens through, call it the OE descendants, which would be the franchise dealer network, right? However, there's a far bigger automotive aftermarket that participates in that space, and often that information does not reach the automotive aftermarket. It stops at the point of where the vehicle was sold. So, is there a way for us to help support the effective execution of whatever the outcomes of the product recall were by expanding the footprint broader to the broader industry, which is where most vehicles are sometimes out of warranty, who may still have the challenge, whatever the case might be. So is there a way for us to close that gap, Nishan? That's my question.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Brown. No, in terms of that, like it is possible that by filtering that information to industry, normally what NCC does, they actually present this in the media. So, but in terms of our investigation is when we receive that notice from NCC, and then if it's in scope of the compulsory specification, for example, a tire specification, we go deep into to actually finding the products and then obviously sanctioning them. So from your question, I gather that you're asking in terms of how do you all proactively support the NRCS in terms of this issue. In terms of supporting the NRCS, I think it's a very valid question. In terms of filtering what we receive, and then we actually look into that process. So. Uh, in terms of that, I'm not. It's unique to NRCS to actually filter that information down because the legislative framework is actually done through NCC. So with that, I think it's a notable question to raise in terms of how the mandate of NRCS, and obviously it's our duty to actually protect the consumer, and then try to collaborate between yourselves and NRCS, which is a great suggestion in terms of notifying certain aspects. But from where I'm sitting, I don't think so. We've been communicating that sort of filtration through what NCC gives us. So yeah, I think in terms of that, we need to look into that and work collaboratively in respect to notifying industry. So I just want to ask from your perspective, TIPA, or any the industry, that when you receive recalls, for example, your tire recalls, is it not actually communicated to your association, or how does it work? So you don't get that sort of information from the OEM, for example. If, say, for example, you get your Michelin tires who have a defective tire model, and do the Michelin tire outlets do not get any information regarding that? I'm not clear on that. If that's happening, then it's very important that NRCS knows about this, and then we can obviously look into the matter of what can we do to collaborate between tire outlets or retailers to notify them of such defects. So, is it that the case? What's happening there, or how is it communicated? For example, in that example that I used, Mr. Premlal, I just want to
Yeah.
get that clarity.
So maybe a direct response to that question is, remember where you have a franchise model, right? I used the example earlier on of dealerships, right, where they are direct descendants of the OE. Where you have a franchise model that's linked to an OE, you'll probably find the communication permeates through very well, right? However, we as TIPA are far broader than that. We represent those that have parents, that have an umbrella body above them, And we also represent those that are independents. And for the most part, those independents, would never receive critical communication relating to, and in this case, I'd say safety, right? Safety, which is something that we as industry stakeholders, together with you as statutory bodies, I think we all have a shared responsibility when it comes to safety and road safety related events. And in this case, this is one, where broader industry may be exposed to or maybe engaging with potentially product recall vehicles and they're not even aware of it. So I think, sharing the communication a bit wider will help us to execute a lot more in terms of delivery when it comes to, again, I go to the, the within inverted commas concept safety on our roads. So for me, it's a big plus if we can get this right, is to spread the word a bit thinner so that broader industry that's not fully represented in terms of the hierarchy will now get this information. So what I'm saying is together, let's hold hands and let's share information that will make a meaningful difference. Um, I hope I responded correctly to your question there initially. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thanks for that, Mr. Rim. I think I just I got the gist of what you were saying there, and I'm fully in agreement with your collaboration sentiments of us, NRCS, and yourselves, TEPA, or associations that's related to Tyre, which we regulate. It's important that we inform the relevant stakeholders of such defects or non-compliance that we identify. So yeah, I fully support that in terms of what you've said. Thanks for that, Mr. Premla. And for answering your question, I think with regards to the uniqueness of it, we haven't actually looked into that because of the communication channel. The only action that we can take is to actually, once we identify a non-compliance, then we can actually take action to ensure a recall of that commodity. For example, if ever we find a tire that's non-compliant, we will obviously take action to for the manufacturer or importer to make sure that the products recall. But for the communication side of it, we haven't have that mandated responsibility under the NRCS Act to do such, but we're looking to actually trying to collaborate with you in terms of sharing critical information as you mentioned. Thanks, Mr. Premnal.
Okay, fantastic. I see we have a question in the chat box with regards to statutory bodies. What collaboration currently exists with industry on product recalls? And then I guess you kind of answered it, but maybe just to clarify, from your side, NRCS, is there any communication that you currently share with industry regarding product recalls?
Yes. So basically, I think he was in attendance in terms of our stakeholder engagements. So one of as product recalls is under my the technical specialist unit, where I handle the analysis and data analytics of the actual recall. So it's actually we do communicate at a stakeholder level. For example, your other associations like NAMSA and SABOA, and you get your NAMCAP. I think you were in one of the engagements where we do actually communicate the recalls. However, at a retail level, we actually don't look into that in terms of filtering it from that stakeholder engagement. So yeah, I think we maybe from a stakeholder engagement from where NRCS sits is maybe we maybe expect that collaborative information be shared with your members. I would think, but in terms of retailers or tire outlets, no, I don't think so. We at that level as yet to inform them.
Okay, fantastic. Members, if you do feel that you need to ask a question, do raise your hand. We will recognize your hand and acknowledge you. Maybe just elaborating a little bit more on the type of work that the NRCS does. And I don't want to dilute the discussion, but the NRCS, amongst other things, also hosts very frequently something called a destruction ceremony. And the destruction ceremony is where they get rid of products that have come into the country, either through compromised channels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And included in there are a lot of automotive components. So, hats off to the NRCS in terms of taking a very proactive and intentional punitive a line of action when it comes to illicit products entering the country. I know certainly for us as industry, I've participated in some of those sessions and I've watched it painfully so, where as an example, laptops are being destroyed with 10-pound hammers. Globes are being destroyed with balers and showing that there is, a fair amount of action happening from the NRCS side. That also is dependent on the type of two-way communication that we create to inform the NRCS of malpractices. So I think it's important for us as industry as well to understand our role. But without diluting the discussion too much, there's definitely questions coming through on the chat. Matthew is typing. Please feel free. In the meanwhile, Matthew, you're welcome as well. If it's too long to type, put your hand up and we'll give you a chance to present your question. But do engage. Are there any other questions? Okay, Matthew, over to you. You can come through. Unmute.
Okay, sure. How's it everyone? I just wanted to check that as a dealership, that's it's dealing in a lot of different products. Is there some kind of like legend or like that says what we should look out for or how we? Because even if we have to turn the information in, I think in a lot of cases we don't even know what we're looking for. For these product recalls and whatnot.
Nishan, over to you. That's a good question. What telltale
yeah.
signs, could our members look out for?
Yeah, that's a very good question in terms of that. So, the NRCS. So, when we receive sort of these type of or notices. For example, the tire manufacturer or importer gives us the tire model details. For example, they give us the size, the load rating, the details of the actual tires, of the sidewall markings, as well as the tread patterns. So they tell us this information. However, from a visual inspection, it cannot be easily identified in terms of that, because remember, when what we do is we look at the actual design performance of the tire. So we sampled them to test it and confirm that it complies to the technical regulation. In this instance, the reference standard is what we call a South African National Standard 230, where, for example, the passenger tire is tested against very stringent technical requirements, like, for example, your endurance and your endurance test, and as well as your load testing. So it's very difficult. It's a very good question in terms of how do you identify a product recall when it's at your store. So with that said, the only time you can actually identify some defects is where, again, you need to filter that information down to the retail level, which is expected from the OEM to actually, because it's a recall, they need to obviously tell the industry or the consumers or customers that they actually service, is that they need to inform them, because it's a product recall. And it's not visually, unless they explain certain aspects of the actual product. So, for example, if ever that you see, like I explained, a certain marking, which is E mark, if it doesn't appear there, then it's most likely that test is not for conditions of this market, where we actually look at e-approval to ensure that the safety of the tire is actually compliant, or the safety aspects of the tire is compliant. So that I would say. But in terms of your question, Matthew, yeah, the only instance that you can identify is by the actual markings itself, and identifying the actual uh, tire model type. I mean, the tire model. So yeah, unless the manufacturer or importer gives you very specific or details of tire bulge, or maybe sort of defective visual that might be identified. But in all honesty, in terms of that, the only identification can be is a tire model in terms of the size, the load rating, as well as the e-approval number that's etched or embossed in the tire itself. So yeah, that's all I can say in terms of your question, Matthew. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Premla.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that, Nishlin. I think, what's becoming more apparent as we discuss this is, obviously this is a topic that is not too familiar with our retailer network, although, for the most part they may know of it, right? But their role that they would play in executing and helping to execute so that we all talk to the same topic, which is road safety. I think that's an important one for us, is closing that gap and understanding how to close that gap. And maybe to that end, what I'm going to do, Nishlin, is just from an industry perspective side, is I will have, out of this exercise, a very simple communication that will go out to industry for them to understand how they can contribute better towards this exercise. Because I do believe that together, if we hold hands on this topic, the execution, which previously was limited to the OEMs and their descendants, could be significantly more, all contributing towards safer roads. So I think there's definitely an opportunity there in terms of how we pitch this to our sector of the industry as a takeout. So we will definitely do that. Expect a call from our office to unpack this a little bit further so that industry can understand their role they're going to play in this as well. I will once again ask for any further questions. Are there any additional questions? Please do feel free to raise your hand. Any further questions? My team, please help me to field if there are questions coming through.
Nothing on the chat. So,
Okay. All right. It doesn't look like there's any questions coming through. And I guess I can understand the complexity of the discussion. But that said, what I will perhaps highlight is for those that attended the meeting and for our members as well, we will be sharing with you the presentation and some of these outcomes, like I did suggest, and the role that you can play in it going forward. So do look forward to that communication. I guess as we unpack this topic more, you'll realize that a lot more will start to surface. Nishlin, you want to come through?
Yes, thanks for that, Mr. Pranal. No, if there's no further questions, maybe the colleagues can email me their questions or any suggestions that they might have or comments, so I can look into it. But at this point of time, the colleagues do not have any questions in their mind. So maybe if you can give written questions, I might respond to may respond to it when I have them. Thanks, Mr. Pranal.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for extending that reach as well. You did see Nishlin's details were shared in the chat box together with the slides. So do engage individually as well if you want to understand a little bit further about this. And not only this, like I said, this is an opportunity for us as industry to engage with what we deem critical stakeholders that play a very influential role in our sector. And this is your opportunity as industry to now participate directly with these stakeholders and get a better understanding of how things work. So do engage. This is our, platform that we've created for our members to engage more directly with those stakeholders that they wouldn't ordinarily reach. This is your chance. You have now been exposed to the stakeholder. Do engage and do participate. Like we did say, we will share the presentation and any other details with you and the rest of the membership. If there's no further questions, I would like to say, firstly, thank you to all of you that did attend. I know it's a bit of a complex topic. I would definitely like to say thank you to Nishlin for giving up his time to come and talk to industry and explain some of the realities around product recalls. And yeah, there we go, guys. I think we did well. It's all within an hour, and you are now free to go back to your businesses and get on with the order of business. And thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Thanks, Mr. Bramwell. Bye.